Hello and welcome back to Addison to 35th podcast on the Just Baseball Media Network. My name is Herb Lawrence. You can follow me on Twitter at Ecknerwall23. That is ECNERWAL 23 for Robin Ventura. Ecknerwall is my last name spelled backwards. Or if you want to go to Blue Sky, it's herblawrence.bsky.social there on Blue Sky, or you can follow me on Instagram. It is just Herb Lawrence, my name. Search me over there. I got some pictures of myself and my new wife. It's good to see. So check it out. Jermaine Horton hooked up some great photos too. So that's neither here nor there, and that's not why you came here today. Today's show, we will be discussing the White Sox upcoming series on Friday through Sunday versus the Kansas City Royals and Jack Taglione, who'll be making his third, fourth, and fifth starts of his major league career, hopefully, versus the White Sox. And hopefully the White Sox will be shutting him and the Royals down this weekend at Guaranteed Rate Field or U.S. Cellular Field or Sox Park or whatever they call it now. In the middle of the segment, we'll be talking about Luis Robert Jr. and how badly he has been this year so far. He has just been so horrid. And then we will get into Justin Ishbia, and the breaking news of today is it's June 5th today. And there was some breaking news about White Sox ownership and Justin Ishbia and his involvement into the White Sox in the future. But first, let's get to the news and notes of the week. We had a couple people went to the IL, and a person who I've been advocating for to stay on the team back on the major league squad. But first, Justin, goodness gracious, I already got Justin Ishbia on the mind because I'm so excited about that, but I'll get to that in a second. Jonathan Cannon, starting pitcher for the White Sox, has been struggling the last couple of times out, and we've been asking for him to have an opener because the last couple times he's had an opener, he's done really, really well after that opener started off the first inning. The last couple outings, not as good, and he just went on the 15-day IL with it is strained lower back for Jonathan Cannon. This already puts a already depleted White Sox starting rotation into chaos right now because you got the injury earlier in the year with Martin Perez will at earliest be pitching in August for the White Sox, which is not what they wanted. They wanted him to pitch as well as he was doing early in the year so they can ship him off to a contender after August. He will not be useful for the White Sox. All they can do in that time is probably just release him after a couple good starts so he can hop on with the team before the September deadline ends, as far as just picking up a player that is eligible to play in the playoffs. Then they get this injury with Jonathan Cannon. They were already short-staffed. The Bryce Wilson thing hasn't worked out, where he's converted back from a reliever to a starter. Now he's back to being a reliever. And they had to work a bullpen game on Wednesday, which didn't work out well for the White Sox initially because they started that game down 4-0. They came back and tied that game at 4-4 and eventually lost it 5-4 to the best team in baseball, the Detroit Tigers. One thing I got to give it to the White Sox, and I'm recording while the White Sox are playing the last game versus the Detroit Tigers. Tigers have a 2-1 series lead right now versus the White Sox as I record this at 2:22 in the afternoon on January. I keep on saying the wrong thing. June 5th, 2025, and the White Sox have a 2-0 lead right now over the Detroit Tigers. But they played them tight. Like, that first game was a blowout. It was an absolute ass kicking, 13-1, killed. And then the White Sox came back, and I think they won 8-1 on Tuesday. And then yesterday, I just gave you the breakdown of what happened with that game. But Jonathan Cannon being out is going to cause a big-time strain for the White Sox. Their starting rotation has not been a problem. If you've been watching this game, when they go through every fifth man, you see quality stuff out of most of these people. When Martin Perez was pitching, he was awesome. You saw great stuff from time to time from Jonathan Cannon, but his last couple starts have not been satisfying. Today's starter is Sean Burke, and he's been a roller coaster ride. Opening day start was really good, and middling starts not that good, and then he would get the ship righted, and it looks like today versus the Tigers, he has got something figured out versus a very good hitting offense in the Detroit Tigers. But of course, the best pitcher on this Chicago White Sox team is Shane Smith, and he continues to do so. He continues to be a gem, a rare find for the White Sox, and he like Luke asked earlier, or talked about earlier, might be the White Sox all-star representative, because while you've had flashes from Miguel Vargas and Chase Mydroff has been solid pretty much this whole time in his rookie year, James Smith's been solid the whole year, where you've had only like one subpar start, but all the rest have been pretty strong. And he just had a nice one. I think he went 5 in the third the other day versus the Detroit Tigers, and that's where they got that 8-1 victory. So I think that having a solid starting rotation and having some people in the minors that you think are eventually going to be in your starting rotation, the White Sox have never really had a problem in developing starters and keeping them at the major league level and doing well at the major league level. And so it looks like that is going to continue here into the future. But this injury to Jonathan Cannon, the lower back strain, like, you don't know how long he's going to be out, who's going to step up and take his place. I mean, the Bryce Wilson thing didn't work out too well. I think that's probably their first option coming out of the bullpen to help them out. But I'm not a fan too much of doing that because he doesn't know his role. He's not established. Give me a person that's been starting down in the minor leagues. I don't care if he hasn't really done as well, but I think the White Sox do well enough to get their pitchers ready for Major League Baseball. So I would think that they would bring somebody up from AAA. Hopefully not Mike Clevenger, because he's not good down there either. But somebody that is a solid starter, more than likely a veteran pitcher that just wants a second chance at the apple and maybe getting traded before the trade deadline. Only 2 months left before the trade deadline hits at the end of July. So I think the White Sox will feel some pain with Jonathan Cannon going out and the additional pain of Martin Perez already being out. So it's going to be some tough times coming no matter what, because the starting pitchers and the starting pitching depth has been depleted so far in the season. And the other day we got Lenin Sosa going out of the game. Well, actually going out and then bringing back Tim Elko from the IL or from the minor leagues down there at Charlotte when he got sent down a couple Fridays ago with Andrew Vaughn. But Lenin Sosa goes to the IL, the 10-day IL, with a right hip flexor strain, and doesn't seem that serious. Lenin has had a solid enough season, probably our best consistent hitter besides Miguel Vargas. Is it a loss? Not really. I mean, I would rather see Tim Elko play first base than Lenin Sosa play anywhere, because you can see where Tim Elko is. See if there's anything that you can use and project to be in 2026 as a person that could be part of this future when he'll be 28 years old. Or this whole year, you could say, okay, we've seen what we need to see. Tim Elko is not it. We need to go out and get ourselves a first baseman, because we know that Andrew Vaughn's not it. So we have that answer already settled at the end of the 2025 season. Let's go and get a new first baseman. That's what I would like to see for the White Sox right now. This is the perfect time for them to give mad at bats to Tim Elko and see what he can do at first base. See if he can cut down on the strikeouts and continue hitting home runs like he always does at every level that he has been at. Let's see how the White Sox got their 2 runs in this game already, because I've been looking at it. Mike Tauchman, of course, a sacrifice fly, and Chase Mydroff, my favorite player, got an RBI single in the 4th inning. So, yeah, the White Sox are battling teams, and then they lose that weekend series to Baltimore Orioles, and you're like, oh, I thought we were in the battling mode where we're beating teams 2 out of 3. I thought we're in the mode of, okay, we're looking a little better. We're not all the way there yet, but what we are showing right now is progress, is moving from the lowest point to the next highest point, and we're getting up to the next rung on the ladder. But when you see losses like that after you battle the New York Mets, who are a solid team, top of the NL East, lose 2 out of 3, but you battled. I think most White Sox fans could have took that and said, hey, we're good with it. We're good with you showing something out there in Shea Stadium or Citi Field and showing that you're not here for games. You're not the same 2024 White Sox. You're the 2025 White Sox. You're a little bit better. Then you go out to Baltimore, a team that is just as bad as you are this year and get swept. Very disappointing. Very disappointing road trip right there where you lose all but one game in New York and Baltimore. And Baltimore is no good, but I think the White Sox have been indicting them. They won 4 in a row before last night's contest. So maybe the White Sox are the get right team, as I told you earlier. But them playing the Detroit Tigers today and this week for a 4-game set, I thought it's going to be a 4-game sweep. But they've shown some heart. They've shown some toughness. And I like what they've shown versus the Tigers because I think the Tigers are a team of destiny. You can see what they've been doing all year long and how they're top of the rotation with Tarek Skubal and Flaherty are working so far. It's been excellent. They've been looking really good. And you get the resurgence of Spencer Torkelson. Javi Baez is back into being Javi Baez. They got Parker Meadows back and Kerry Bonds, a.k.a. Kerry Carpenter, with 3 home runs on Monday versus the White Sox. He seems to just kill the White Sox. I think he's got 6 home runs this season versus the White Sox, which is his most versus any team that he's ever faced in his career. So, yeah, I think they have a real shot of being the AL representative for the World Series this year. And the White Sox battling them as much as they do. And if they get a split right here versus these Tigers, that's a win. That's a huge win for the White Sox. But the reason why I am not recording after the game is because we just had breaking news around noonish Chicago time where the White Sox and Justin Ishbia have worked out a deal. And let me just read it from the White Sox press release verbatim so I don't mess anything up. So you hear from them exactly what's going on. The Chicago White Sox today that Jerry Reinsdorf and Justin Ishbia have reached a long-term investment agreement that establishes a framework for Ishbia to attain the future controlling interests of the Chicago White Sox. As a part of the agreement, Ishbia will take capital infusions into the White Sox as a limited partner in 2025 and 2026 that will be used to pay down the existing debt and support ongoing team operations. The agreement provides that from 2029 to 2033, Reinsdorf will have the option to sell controlling interest to Ishbia. After the 2034 season, Ishbia will have the option to acquire controlling interest. In the event of any such future transaction, all limited partners of the White Sox will have the opportunity to sell to Ishbia at that time. In addition to Justin Ishbia, his brother Matt and his father Jeff Ishbia will also be significant investors. There will be no assurance that any such future transaction will occur, and no event will such a transaction take place before 2029. In such time, the Jerry Reinsdorf family will continue to own controlling interests of the White Sox. Reinsdorf, chairman of the White Sox since purchasing the franchise in 1981, remains the sole day-to-day decision maker for the club. Having the incredible opportunity to own the Chicago White Sox and be part of Major League Baseball for nearly 50 years has been a life-changing experience, said Reinsdorf. I have always expressed my intent to operate the White Sox as long as I am able to and remain committed to returning this franchise to the level of on-field success we all expect and desire. That is the press release the White Sox had today announcing that Justin Ishbia, by 2029, for all intents and purposes, will have controlling interest. Will have the ability to have controlling interests of your very same Chicago White Sox. By 2034, it will be his 100%, and he'll have the option to buy out and be the controlling interest guy for the Chicago White Sox. And that is a good thing to hear. We already knew that this day was coming, but didn't know when it was coming. When we heard the news back in December when Justin Ishbia pulled out of his pursuit of the Minnesota Twins to be their owner, we all knew that if he's coming back to the Chicago White Sox and buying up minority stakes of the Chicago White Sox ownership, the only reason you would do that, and the only reason when you pull out of the Minnesota Twins deal, was that you're down the road going to have controlling interests of the Chicago White Sox as a franchise. And so today they've laid it out. They've worked out the parameters of the succession plan for Jerry Reinsdorf to Justin Ishbia and his family. So I'm very hyped. I'm very happy about this. It is a good day for Chicago White Sox. And yeah, it's another good day too, because you out there, who some of you guys have taken it way too far. And I know the circumstances and how well and how badly the White Sox have played this year kind of lend itself to how you felt about this. But way too many people were wishing for the demise of Jerry Reinsdorf just so you can have a new owner. Now we don't have to do that. We have a clear path of when and where and who will be the new owner of the Chicago White Sox when it comes time for the team to be shifted from Jerry Reinsdorf's controlling interest to the next person, and that next person will be Justin Ishbia. And that is so good to hear because, yes, his brother Matt and himself own the Phoenix Sun and the Phoenix Mercury down there in the desert. And I've had so many Phoenix Suns fans and so many basketball fans say, be careful what you wish for. You'll end up like a Phoenix Suns. I'm like, have you turned on a TV ever? Have you watched any White Sox game? Have you witnessed the Jerry Reinsdorf White Sox in his tenure since 1981? Have you witnessed any of that? I know the old line is the grass is always greener on the other side. And the buyer beware or be careful what you wish for type of thing. But let me say this bluntly. Any owner would be better than Jerry Reinsdorf as the owner of the Chicago White Sox. I've said this before they were the worst team in baseball. I've said this a long time because Jerry Reinsdorf, as the controlling partner of the Chicago White Sox, the managing partner of the Chicago White Sox, believes in what he believes, and that's it. You don't have to look any further than when he usurped Rick Hahn's power at the end of the 2020 season, instead of allowing him to manage or to grab manager AJ Hinch, as Rick Hahn wanted to do for this emerging, young, talented team. Jerry Reinsdorf usurped him and righted a wrong when he rehired Tony La Russa. And I know you're going to say, well, they won in 2021. Any manager could have had that team win that pennant in 2021 or win that AL Central in 2021. Tony was along for the ride. In 2022, you saw more of what the White Sox are. And I think that was the beginning of the end of the White Sox as a franchise and being good, because Jerry Reinsdorf tumbled this team and tumbled this franchise into where they're standing right now. You don't think that was demoralizing to Rick Hahn? He wanted to quit right then. And if you want to quit in 2020, you're not allowed to quit. The rest of his tenure, he was just 1 foot out the door. So I think Jerry Reinsdorf is a terrible owner. I thank him for our one championship that we do have, but it's been 45 years almost of his ownership. They got one championship. Not a lot. Need more. And the reason why they only have one championship, the reason why they're antiquated in equipment and all the stuff that the other teams are doing with analytics and research and development, it's because Jerry Reinsdorf doesn't want to spend the money. Justin Ishbia, for all the stuff you hear about Matt, his brother, down there in Phoenix and how that team is bad, I guarantee you White Sox fans would love the Ishbia type of ownership where he's pushing all the money in. He's going to get Kevin Durant. He's going to get Bradley Beal. And yes, those moves did not work out for the Phoenix Suns. But as I always say, it's process over results. If he goes out and Justin Ishbia goes out and gets a big-time free agent like the White Sox have never had, I guarantee you're going to be on fire. You're going to be hyped as hell as a White Sox fan. The process will be good. I'm sure he'll get all the facilities up to date. I'm sure with all the money he makes, and I think his Forbes net worth is $4.5 billion. I'm sure that he will find a way, and look at what Joe Mansueto just did, the Chicago Fire owner, where he's going to be putting up all his money and all private funding for his own stadium in the 78, where the White Sox want to go. I'm sure Justin Ishbia has the capital to do the similar things and go with private financing. Maybe not all his money, but no public money. And that would be great. That'll be a start to this relationship with the fans. Here's a world-class ballpark. You can come to our stadium and enjoy. And we're not going to put the taxpayers of Illinois on the hook for our debts. And in this article, you can tell Ishbia will be helping with some of the debt that the White Sox have already accrued. So I'm just hyped about what's going to happen next. I can't wait till after the 2029 season. I hope that Jerry Reinsdorf has a long life, a very happy life. But I want him out as the Chicago White Sox owner. And it looks like 2029, we're going to have some answers. And I hope right then, Jerry's like, all right, it's been real. And Justin's like, deuces. Deuces, Jerry. Peace out. We'll never see you again. Enjoy Arizona. Ride into the sunset. Live life for 20, 30, 40 more years. Hope you enjoy. But don't come back to the ballpark. Peace. It's going to be a great day. It's going to be a great day when he takes over, because I know that he's going to be a better owner. And as he's building the biggest house in Illinois history and the most expensive house in Illinois history, he's got stakes here. And I keep on seeing people who don't know how to do math, who don't know how to count people. Well, this means the White Sox are going to Nashville. Why would they go to Nashville? Why would you just buy controlling interest of the team in the third largest market in the United States to move it to a really small market in Nashville and put yourself behind the 8 ball immediately? It makes no sense. And why would Major League Baseball do that? There's no way Major League Baseball would like that. They'd be like, no, we're good. We'll collect the hundreds of thousands of dollars in expansion fees instead of moving a team from the third largest market to a market of 1.5 million. From 9 million to 1.5 million. Well, Herb, the Cubs have the most of that market. All right. Say the Cubs have 65% of that. And the White Sox have 35. Still 2.5, 2.7, still bigger than 1.5. And it's a better market, frankly. No one wants to go to Nashville. I've been to Nashville. It's a bunch of Airbnbs. It's a transient city, as much as a transient city can be. No. So it's going to be a good day when Justin Ishbia takes over the ownership of the Chicago White Sox. And you know, another reason why it's going to be a good day is because I pause to say this because I love the player and I do not know what happened. But Luis Robert won't be here when Justin Ishbia takes over as the controlling interest partner of the Chicago White Sox. And he's got probably 2 more months, less than 2 more months on the Chicago White Sox himself. I don't know if it is the team's bad play that has made him bad, but something is wrong with him. He's healthy. He's stealing a bunch of bases. He's walking higher rate than he's ever done, but he cannot hit to save his life. This year, Luis Robert Jr., one of the brightest stars, 27 years old, in his prime, is hitting 177 batting average, getting on base at a 266 clip, and slugging only 286. Piss poor. That is a weighted runs created plus of 57. MLB average is 100. He's 43% worse than that. He's got 5 home runs, 20 driven in, and his F4, his Fangraphs WAR, is negative 0.3. Really, really poor. Really, really bad. He is not good this year at all because out of 169 qualified batters in Major League Baseball, according to Fangraphs WAR, Luis Robert is 155th. 169th is Andrew Vaughn, and he's in the minor leagues right now with a negative 1.3 F4. But Luis Robert, all those stolen bases, all the good work he does in the outfield, still, his bat is dragging him down. He is the 155th best player in Major League Baseball. That's bad when there's only 169 that qualify. And he's looking for that $20 million option be picked up by the team that's going to be acquiring him. Good luck. Good luck, sir. No one's going to be picking that up if you keep on doing like this. Now, the White Sox have sat him down for the last couple days to get his mind right, to work on some things with his swing, get his confidence back. He was supposed to be back in the lineup on Thursday, but he was doing some batting practice the other day and got hit on the coconut, and they sat him out for precautions. They expect him back Friday night versus the Royals. Let's see if there's a difference. You saw an immediate difference in Colson Montgomery when he went down to Arizona and worked with Ryan Fuller after a break. Hopefully, for Luis Robert Jr. and the White Sox sake, Luis Robert Jr. shows the fuck up again. Sorry for swearing, but this is annoying. They need him to show up because at the end of the day, when the trade deadline is there and another team's on the line saying, hey, you want us to trade for 2023 Luis Robert Jr., that man is gone. We're trading for the 2025 Luis Robert, which is a carryover for the 2024 Luis Robert. The bad player. Yes, we think we can get him better, but we're not going to give you premium talent. A top 100 prospect? Absolutely not. You're lucky if you get a double-A player that's got any type of promise. That's where he's at right now. No one wants to touch him. Not a soul. Because he's been that bad at baseball this year. And sometimes it just happens. You've seen Tim Anderson, who got released by the Angels, I think, last week. It went away. And he has not regained it in the 2+ years he's been gone from the White Sox. Yoan Moncada is not that guy he was in 19. And I know they had the bouncy ball in 19. And that's why he hit all the home runs. That's why he got top 10 or got a top 10 vote from James Fegan for MVP that year. But he has never reached the pinnacle. You've seen that from Eloy Jimenez, injuries, etc. But he's still in AAA with Durham Bulls or the Tampa Bay Rays. He's not recovered. It's the oddest thing I've ever seen in baseball. It's like the Monstars took away Chicago White Sox hitters' powers. Which is looking the other day about Tim Anderson winning his first hitting championship in 19, his batting crown. And then Yoan Moncada, just like talked about, had a great year in 19. And then you think about 2020, them going to the playoffs for the first time since 08. And you're like, oh, man, this team is young, fresh, invigorating, great. Luis Robert just came to the table. Eloy's going to be great. Yoan's going to be great. Andrew Vaughn's coming next year. I'm cooking with gas. Hey, man, I tell you what. And then you get the ruining by hiring Tony La Russa. And that was all she wrote. It's just sad as a White Sox fan to see all that talent that they had with the bats. And now it's just really bad. And frankly, it's pitching too. I don't know if you've seen Lucas Giolito lately in Boston getting lit up, getting crushed out there in Boston. And I know some are going to blame it on the sticky tack, the spider tack that he used allegedly a couple years ago, and the outlawing of that, of his changeup not being as good as it used to be, his fastball not getting the spins that it used to be, but he's fallen off the table. When they do the movie about the White Sox collapse, it's going to be a must watch. I hope I'm a part of it because I watched most of it and I covered it daily since 19, pretty much, or the whole 2020 season throughout and continuing through this year. So, yeah, it is very sad to see all that what's happening with the White Sox and all the players that have their powers just stripped. Not a lesser version of them, the worst version of these players showing up. Andrew Vaughn can't hit. Luis Robert can't hit. Tim Anderson can't hit. Yoel Moncada can't hit. Eloy Jimenez can't hit. They're all just bad. Jose Abreu, when he left the White Sox, could not hit. This is some type of curse. I cannot believe how bad it is for the White Sox and how, like 4 years ago, that's all it was. We're on top of the world, and now we're pretty much on the doldrums of baseball. Let me stop ranting and get mad. Oh, goodness gracious. It's sad to be a White Sox fan right now, but good times are ahead because Justin Ishbia is going to be the owner sooner than later. Next series versus the Royals and Jack Caglione coming to town. He made his major league debut the other day versus St. Louis Cardinals, and he has done some great work down there in the minor leagues for the Royals. He got drafted last year. Same draft that Hagen Smith got drafted, same draft that Braden Montgomery got drafted, and folks thought that he would be one of the first people being coming up to the major leagues after his draft, and he's here, and he's got prodigious power, and I wanted the White Sox to draft him. I first wanted them to draft Braden Montgomery. When that didn't happen, I was like, okay, Braden Montgomery got picked 12th, and eventually they got him back in the Garrett Crochet trade. But when they drafted Hagen Smith, I was like, I guess so. I guess so. But Jack Caglione is a pitcher and a first baseman, can play outfield and hits home runs like no one's business. Well, why not pick him up with a lefty bat? The White Sox did not feel like that he was the guy to go with it there. They went with a college starter in Hagen Smith. The Royals were the next pick Jack Caglione as quick as they can, and now he is up on the major league team. So good job, Royals. I'm going to hate this guy for at least 7 years. It's going to suck to go against him because I know he's going to hit a bunch of home runs versus the White Sox. But this weekend, I hope the White Sox shut him down because Seth Lugo will be starting on Friday night. He has a 3-5 record with a 3.45 ERA. He'll be going against Davis Martin, 2-6 record with a 3.67 ERA. Or on Saturday, Michael Waka 3-4 with a 2.88 ERA will be going against Adrian Hauser, surprise guy. This guy's picked up the mantle where Martin Perez left off. He's been excellent in his 3 starts with the White Sox. He's got a 1-1 record with a 1.47 ERA on the year. And on Sunday's finale, which I think also is Southpaw's birthday, if you go out there to Lot B, it'll be Sox on 35th and the Chicago Sports Bum celebrating Southpaw's birthday, his 21st birthday. So go out there, support the guys, have a great time. I mean, I've always had a great time at the Chicago Sports Bums tailgates. They do well, all 4 of the guys out there. And others, they have others people, that the main 4 guys, HBIC, Baloney, Johnny, and my guy Dougie. So good times out there. Enjoy yourselves. Sox on 35th, Chicago Sports Bums for Southpaw's 21st birthday. It'll be Michael Lorenzen, 3-6 with a 5.12 ERA versus Shane Smith, the White Sox current all-star. If we're talking about right now, I think he'll be the representative for the White Sox. Shane Smith is a 2-3 record with a 2.45 ERA. I'll try to have a show up after that. If I'm not, it'll be next weekend because I've been very busy with both getting married in the month of May. We're moving next week, so probably not going to have an episode on Thursday because that's the day that we're closing. And just a lot of things, trying to find a new job too. So these days have been hectic for me. So I'm sorry that I haven't been doing episodes for each series, but it's been very hard and very hectic, but a good hectic for me. So for Ryan Herrera, who does the Cubs side of this Addison to 35th podcast, my name is Herb Lawrence. You can follow me on Twitter at Acnerwall23. That is ECNERWAL234 Robin Ventura. Or if you want to write us an email, it is Addison235th at gmail.com, either myself or Ryan. So I'll see you the next time we do an episode, either Sunday into Monday or next week, sometime in the middle of the week, where we can talk about what the White Sox have done versus these Kansas City Royals and hopefully come out with a split versus Detroit Tigers that I'm speaking right now. You already know the result of that because you'll be hearing this on Friday morning. So that is it. Thank you for joining me here on Addison to 35th.